from next week or so or thereabouts, we may be having to start with the capstone project thereabouts. I'm not so sure now. So that's that. So the main essence of this week is having to understand the how to authenticate with JWT. That's what I call the week's topic. So for any application, authentication is quite important because people are going to use your service. There are some services that don't even require login anyway. So I mean, there's a website I use almost every day, and I don't log in. I just basically use it to convert pictures to PDF and whatever. You're probably familiar with it, but there's no login, there's no anything like that. It's just get in and do your thing and get out. So those services don't require authentication. Maybe, I don't know. Yeah, but in many applications that you have, you kind of have to do authentication. And authentication is this part of your application where a lot of time has to be spent on. And there are some applications that, there are some services that provide this authentication service. Basically, some people just basically have the mentality of not rolling out their auth. Eh? So the idea is that you kind of want to use a third-party service to just handle the entire authentication so that you can get into what is required for your business, for you to implement the business logic, because authentication is not really what your service is all about. It is a very, very important step, but it's not really what your business is all about, basically. So we have different ways of doing authentication. You can actually roll out your own authentication per se. That's you are doing the entire thing manually. You're maintaining a database of users. You are doing their password, everything like that. You kind of want to do all of that maybe yourself. That's one way of looking about it. You can use external parties like, say, signing with Google. That's very, very common. Yeah, so many services, they just have a way of signing in with Google, maybe the Facebook or Apple ID or whatever as well. So that is also another way of doing authentication. So our today's class and hopefully tomorrow's class as well is going to stand on that. We have to break the class into two because I'm supposed to give you an assignment to really understand how JWT works. But before we can talk about the main topic of authentication and JWT, I want us to go back to the existing code we wrote from last week and try and do some cleaning up, some understanding some things and everything. So let me just spend 1 or 2 minutes to walk you guys through what we are doing. So basically, we are creating a jobs API stuff. We want to be able to create some information on jobs like that. Like basically, oh, there is a job open now. We want to create the company and the position. Basically, you want maybe like the front end person is going to create a form, and then you're going to the form is just going to be maybe like the admin is managing that, for example, or you are just using it for yourself. Maybe you just want to write, maybe like you want to keep track of jobs and whatever. I mean, that's what we are kind of achieving here. So you have like a company and position. So the rec.body means that it is in the body of your requests. And then there's the get job. That's the particular job that you're talking about. You want to get all jobs. You want to delete a job and you want to update a job. So the HTTP method for these controllers, this code, these functionalities, if you are creating a job, most of the time you are taking something from what's it called? From a form, right? When you want to create something, maybe it is the admin that is creating it or it's a user that is creating it. You kind of want to use a post request there. So if you follow what this create job thing, you find it in the route to be the router dot post, and then it does the creating of job. And then if you want to get a job, of course, that's simply just a get. You have to specify on the ID in the route place that, okay, there's an ID for that to get the job. And then if you want to get all jobs, then of course you don't need to like specify the ID to just find anything that matches a particular requirement, a particular condition. So in this case, we don't need any condition. We just want all the jobs that is there on the in the database. Okay, so deleting jobs now. Okay, so in this case, I mean, you just want to get rid of it, and then updating the so deleting the job will take the dot to delete request part, and then updating it will take the patch. So posts, get, patch, deletes. Those are the HTTP methods for your CRUD operations that we are basically talking about. All right. So what I want us to do this evening is to start from here. So we have to try and do some try and catch. So the reason is because some things, when you're dealing with things on your in your controllers, or when you're writing code, basically, things can fail. And when things fail, you need to be able to properly check how those things that are failing, basically. And when I want to write that, when I want to think about errors, basically, I want us to think of errors in two ways. The errors that you are kind of sending out, like maybe something went wrong in handling, like everything works well, or you are letting these things to actually get outside of your application. And those errors now is part of what I call the error response. So last week I kind of organized how we send error response and success response as well. So anything that is getting out of I'm sending a request to my endpoint and bringing out something. So that is part of the error response here. So this ones is what the external consumer of my API is concerned about. I don't know who is calling me here. I think it's likely from this call as well. They tried reaching me, but let me see. Oh, okay. I think I know who it is. All right. So apologies for that as well. So anyway, um, as I was saying, so when you want to care about errors that you want people that are using your API to care about, I think a good idea is to just kind of put it inside the error response thing. And then when you want to care about errors that is currently going on in your own application, maybe due to your own code that you missed, that you were thinking of something and then something missed, or maybe something did not just go wrong entirely, or maybe you have this kind of hold on. Hold on, just give me a sec. All right, so I guess that is handled. So as I was saying, so you kind of want to have a way of dealing with stuff like that, and that's where we want to care about the try and catch statements. So try doing all of this, but in case there's any error, you kind of want to um handle it gracefully, basically. And there's also I think there's a new thing going on with JavaScript recently that they are bringing this operator for just handling that very well. I'm not very familiar with it, but it does this question mark, this syntax here, question mark equals to, if I'm right very well. This is the syntax. Where is this question mark key? Okay, yeah, question mark equals to there. Okay, I mean, to be honest, that's not what we should bother about now. It's just a matter of updating your code. But yeah, I saw that recently and I just said, let me just check. So what you want to do is want to wrap your code in your try and catch. So try doing all of this, but in a case there's an error, so catch, say for example, there's an error now. You just want to like log it out. So maybe you want to do the console or log the error, basically. So I'm going to do that to all of the code basically here now. So I'm going to wrap them around in try and catch. So try, okay. So in the case there is an error, catch, you console or log it. So maybe it is something that is internal to your own application. Maybe from your work, an error from your own parts as well. So that's why I we need to talk about that as well. So there's still a couple of things we want to do. from here. Okay. So what am I doing? Try and catch. Sorry. So yeah, this is more like when you start your code properly, you won't have it, you will just have to write everything properly there. Ugh. So one last thing, okay? So all right. So take your try and catch. Okay, try and catch your error. And then you console.log the error. So in case anything is wrong, you kind of just want to see how that works. So I hope that is quite clear on that. So you just want to do something like that, basically. Okay, so it's definitely okay. All right, so the next thing I also want us to check very well is how we are logging onto this thing. So there are different tools for logging when you are doing a backend project, right? So logs are very, very important. Without keeping logs, if your transfer from Access Bank to say your GT Bank fails and there's no record of that ever happening on the backend, there's going to be a problem because how are you going to know? How are you going to have something particularly to reference to actually check that this is what happened? So logging is quite very, very important in backend. You need to know basically this action was performed at a particular time. So we have a tool for doing your logging operations here, and we can, I think the one I make use of is Winston. Okay, so Winston in Express. So this is it here. So we make use of Winston. I don't know if they, okay, uh, that's the thing. So let me check. I think Wix, okay, I think I was writing the wrong one. So I don't know. This is the one I was looking for. So Winston is the one that we are going to use. We use it for logging. It's very, very kind of easy to set up. It has its own so you create a logger and you can have the logger to have different levels. Maybe you just want this level to be for just information of things that are going on your database, or you want your error to be there. Another thing is that you can log your things, your error to a file when you make use of Winston, right? So let's say, for example, you don't really want to, you want to have separate files for when things are going on in your backend application, or you just want to have a particular case for where error occurred. So you can do any of that with Winston. So that's what I want you guys to come over here and read the documentation. So once you install Winston, you can create a logger here by just making use of this command. Create logger, and then you create your transports. Your transports are basically how your logs are being transported, so to speak. So in the first case, they are putting your logs in the console, and in this case, you are putting it in your what's it called, in a particular file. So combine.log probably means that they want to put both your error, your everything in your Winston. So if I follow one of my former setup to that. So what you want to do first of all is to install Winston there. You can just say npm install Winston. So that will install Winston first of all. Uh, Hold on. Let me see if I can easily quickly grab one of my these things. So I just show you how to do the logger. Okay. So what you want to do, where I used to always put it is I put it in my utils and I just create a logger. I think I was having a conversation earlier this week with someone concerning how they were logging. So I mean I did not patiently read whatever they were doing, but because I didn't have the time. It has been a crazy week since last week, but yeah, I hope I'll be able to get back to that on that. I hope they're also on the call. Can you signify or say something if you're on the call? Okay. So let me see the messages that we have here. Someone sent a message earlier. Oh yeah, it's you, Clinton. All right. So maybe at some. Oh wow, somebody has been waiting in the lobby since. Interesting. Okay, and Basit as well. Okay, I think it was two people we're having a chat with. So yeah, it has. I couldn't really talk to you guys. Someone was having a bunch of issues in their application as well. I think maybe I hope yeah, I think that is you, Basit. So have you been able to resolve them? You can talk actually. It's not so.
Yeah, yes, I've been able to resolve it to an extent, but tonight I should be done tonight.
All right. Yeah, you can just send me an update. Okay. So you can just send me an update.
All
So
right.
first of all, yeah, thank you. So what you want to do is oh okay, Clinton. Clinton, let me get back to you. Let me just go on. I wanted you to talk, so I just get the gist quickly instead of having to deal with the messages.
Oh,
All right.
can you?
Yeah, but don't worry. Let me get back to you later on. Clinton. Yeah, let me get back to you later on. So on the logger now, I think the things we need this create logger method. We need the transport method as well. That is here. And let me see what other thing we need. Okay, let me just walk you through one of my existing implementations that we used to do. So what I used to do is to import some things from Winston. Okay, so I create the create logger. Okay, you can see it's already helping you bring them out. So from Winston, a format to put the format for it, the transport as well. Okay, so transports as well. Those are the things I used to always put like that. So what you want to do next is that you want to create your logger basically. So to create your logger, you can just say const logger equals to create logger. Okay, so you create the logger, and once you do that, it basically wants to take a bunch of options like that. It's taking it in this your format. And then the other thing you want to do is to just export your logger. Basically, you say export default logger. All right. So to make use of your logger anyway. So it's just as simple as that. So the options you have there, you read them from the documentation. But one thing you maybe want to do is to put a particular format to your logger. Very important. And then, I mean, your logger won't work if you just created it that way, basically. But you want to create a format and a transport. Let's start from the transport since that's very key basically. I mean, from the documentation, I think they basically mentioned that you just need to create where you want the thing working. So once you follow this code, you are basically kind of good to go. Let me just say that once you create this, you are good to go. So we could pick it and just keep on going. But let me just walk you through my own way of doing it. So you create your transport. Your transport takes an array, and then you want to create where your transport should go to. So you want to do you say new, that's a constructor for that transport.file. So that tells you that you're creating a file. So you open it, it is a function. Once you see these options, you have to put things in this your curly braces and say, okay, it's expecting a file name, and the file name is taking is let's create it in a new folder, log, and then let's create a combined.log like they just said, combined.log, basically just like they did in this here example here. So that's exactly what we just did here. Okay, so let's create another one. So in this case, we just want everything that is going on in that particular one. So maybe you want to have a particular place that you just want to check just your error, anything that went wrong, because you have more or less, once your application is live, you are probably concerned about where your things fail more than where things work. Because if things work, then I mean it should work. So that's not really what could bother you. It is when things don't work that you probably get worried. So you want to create another log for the error, and then you may want to and in order for you to specifically tell it that, oh, only put the error ones there, you put level, and then that's the option for that, and you say specify it to be error. So anything that is of the error kind will basically come here, and you have a way of telling it as well. So another thing is that maybe you kind of want to tell it that you want some things in the console as well. So that's what they did here. So while you are working, you don't want to be checking your file every time. You want to see some things in the console, basically. So you may just want to say new transports dot console. I'm good to go for that. But basically, okay, I didn't leave a comma here. I hope this. So another thing you also want to do is maybe you want to create like a little bit of a format basically for your this thing. So you may want to say this is what I used to do. I put like a combine, let me see, timestamp. Okay, yeah. So you see this format from this thing now, we want to destructure it as well, because this format from Winston now, it contains some different options that we have. Timestamp, colorize, um print F, basically the print format as well. So we have it to take the format. So those things are from the format like that. So you want to say what's it called? Let's put it a log format basically. Let me just put something here. Cons log formats equals, so your print F, so that's the print format now. So what do you want to do? You want to put it am I getting a call? So you want to put let me see. Let me see if I remember this. I think I want to put a timestamp, level, and the message. All right. So I'm basically putting the time for whatever happened, the level of the stuff that happened, so and the message itself. And I want to put it as an okay, so I'm wrapping it into a function that maps them into this particular format. Okay. So let me see if I have that well. So I'm putting like the timestamp. So and then the level. Okay. So the level, no, level, and then the message. So I want everything to just come as well like that. So if anything is being printed to the console, I want you to follow this particular log format. So let's deal with the format of the console as well. I hope I'm not taking too much time on this. So you want to create a new format as well. So formats, yeah, you can see that's basically showed up there. So also I hope I took, oh yeah, so I want to combine some different formats there. So that's what combine does. Then you open it, then you say, okay, yeah, you can see it's being taken once you see these three dots, that I think that's the spread operator. So for you to take a bunch of different things in your array. I hope I'm saying all these basic JavaScript stuff well. Mm. So your timestamp. So basically, I want the format of my timestamp to take year, monthly, day stuff. So I want a year, months, day. Then as for the hour, so hour like that. So month, minutes, and second. So you kind of want to check why it's in this particular format for that. I don't want us to waste time there. So that's how I want the timestamp to be written. Anywhere it is written, that's okay. So the next thing is for you to put, then you should combine both the timestamp formats, the way I'm putting everything together. That's a log format. That's where I'm printing stuff. And yeah, I think we should also add colors. Let me see, colorize. Did I? Okay, yeah, I took colorize as well. So you should colorize. Yeah, you should colorize everything. Basically, all is true. So yeah, I think that's what I used to always do. So basically, in the what's it called, in the transports, in the log file, I don't think I want to see any of that. So basically, in the console, this is where I need those formats to be done. So I'm going to put it's also going to take option. So the only way you can really understand how all of these things are being done is when you check the documentation. So you want to combine, but I mean, this is a simple file that works. Maybe to be honest, I always just pick it over and over again like that. So from my previous code, so you can just maybe like work with this, I guess, colorize. Then you want to take that and then okay. So you want to like say to colorize everything as well, just like I did there. All right. So I guess I think that's all. That's basically all of that. So you should combine all of these formats in putting stuff down. And specifically for the console, you should combine both the log format and this thing. Okay, yeah. I think that's it. Yeah, if I see very well. So yeah, that's what we want for the console. So you can just check out Winston for that. So you basically want to check login and read so much more of that. You can maybe also, there's also I think a tool for checking once somebody's on the lobby. So I don't see these things. Okay. I think maybe their network malfunctioned. Okay. Where was I? So yeah, you have all these things to check out when you read the documentation. You can read basically, you can just basically just pick any of these things and just boom, just get it over with like that. So that's what Winston does, and you are going to see how I make use of it soon enough. As for the different levels, we have them here. So these are the levels we have, and then it has a way of arranging the levels according to that's what it says according to severity. But yeah, so check more on Winston is a very good one for you to familiarize yourself with. So where was I? So we've talked about using the try and catch and putting some logs in our listing as well. So before we even implement anything concerning logic, we also need to we've been talking about things concerning error all along. Our try and catch was a way of saying if things break, try doing things, and then if it breaks, catch it and then put it somewhere like console.log it. Maybe your console.log now. I really don't like to, I don't I really don't use console.log in my application. Basically, I like to use the what the logger gives me, because when console.log the error, it has this kind of way the console it is being logged out basically. So the logger, the reason why I'm creating a console format here is basically because I want to have control over that. So why not just use whatever the logger is doing? I'll update the code shortly for that. But let me just talk about the next thing here, which is the error handling. Yeah. So, like I said, the error handling here is, let's say, so for example, some things just basically did not work well in your application. Maybe internally to it, you don't really want this to be like things that like kind of exposed out, basically. So you kind of want to write a middleware for it. So finally, we are talking about what your middleware is. So think of middleware as kind of like, okay, if your utilities is where you keep some one-off functions that is basically used in your application. Your controllers is where you define your business logic. Your model is where you define your model schemas and stuff like that. Your middleware is basically like a place where, say, in this route, for example, this is why I like to understand it now. Say, for example, you want your application to do some processing or some things to be checked basically before it actually runs this functionality you defined. A middleware is where you can put any of those things. I think I like the definition that Google brought, because I checked it one more time again. So yeah, let me see if I can explain. Oh yeah. So yeah, middleware, I like the head. Let's read the actual documentation for it. It says middleware functions are functions that have access to the request object, the response object, and the next middleware function in the application's request response cycle. In fact, this is a very, very good. I mean, I couldn't have done a better job than people who wrote the um the 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 framework itself. So basically, it tells us very key important things. It has access to the requests itself, where it is coming from, the response itself, and the next function. So basically now, when you are dealing with stuff with your middleware now, once this middleware is done, say, okay, let's say we have a middleware here. Maybe like the middleware is like do pre-processing, or check if the this particular person I wanted to create a job, check if they are logged in, right? So if you want to check if they are logged in, you put it inside a middleware, and that's because according to your REST principles now, each request and response does not handle states. Okay, I think that will leave I'll talk more on that later on, that particular the REST specification again. But also, I may leave it as an assignment since I don't want to talk too much here. So your middleware is in between as a middle, but has the request that came to these endpoints and the response that will come after. It has access to both of them. And the next is basically like there to just say, okay, where is it going to next after this middleware successfully did whatever it wants to do. So, and the next is coming to what? The create job functionality there. So that's what I'm using in this particular example. I don't know if that is very clear. So we want to create a folder here that says middleware. Okay, I think that's the first time you're doing that. Okay, so we want to create a middleware for our errors basically now. So the way we want to undo errors in our listing. So let's create a new folder there inside it. Let's call it error handler. Okay, handler there. Okay, and in the error handler, let's create one. So basically, I want two files there. I want the index.js, and I also want oh my, okay, I also want the API error.js. So basically, those are the two files we need. So in this case, where we have the API error, I want to have that's like the more or less where the interacting with the API, with the middleware we come from, how you want to interact with it. So the first thing you want to do is to create your class. So class API error is what we have there, and then you define it there. So for some people that are not very familiar with object-oriented programming, I think you may want to check some things out, but don't worry, I'll walk you through it as well. So you want to create two variables that will kind of be public to the entire thing. So you have, I want a code, which I want is as a number, and a message. Oh, okay, I think I'm starting to use some TypeScript stuff here. So I want basically a code and a message. Yeah. So code and a message, those are the like two variables I want. Basically, in fact, why am I doing this? Hold on, just give me a sec. So I keep forgetting how to write things in normal JavaScript, basically. So you want to have a constructor. So a constructor is basically how to instantiate, that's to create an instance of your API error. So you want to have a code and the message as well. Okay. So once you have that, you create this thing and then you put this is just like the way things are done. So this dot code is code and this dot message is message, so that you are able to access those variables from any method that you want to define in your API error. Okay. So then the next thing you want to do is to create some static function that says not found. Okay, so say for example you don't have like maybe like a fall for basically when a resource is not found there. So what do you want to do? You want to say, okay, return the new, like create a new class of your API error. I think something is wrong here, but okay. And then the code you want to have is that you want to have a fall for basically. But I basically told you that I kind of don't want to instantiate. Okay, yeah, like I said, I'm so used to doing things in TypeScript. Yeah, so you only annotate when you're using TypeScript, basically. So you what's this called now? So your code now, you want, I don't want us to add code our 404 whatever. It's a good thing to know, but let's just make use of it too, basically. Because like I said, this is it. We did it in the last class. Now this is a 500 error, unprocessable entity. I hope I'm okay. A 422 basically. Yeah, I hope I was saying that right. So a not found is 404. So if something is not found, you can just basically, let's import that same utility we used there. So you can just say import status codes. So, okay, good, very well, thank you. So you want to say status codes dot was it something is not found, is not found. Okay, then the message you want it to actually give you can just say something like requested resource not found. Okay, that's that. So we have that function there. We want to have another one, a static function that says bad request. Okay, so when something is this thing, now let's say in this case we actually want to take a string. I'm annotating again. So what do you want to do? You want to return your new API error, a new class of it. That's okay. What do you want to do here? So status codes, okay, dot bad requests. That should be it. And then basically there could be different kind of bad requests that you have internal to your application. So you send a what? That's why this message is being passed as a parameter there, so that you can manually put what particularly went wrong there. So your static again, internal error. So basically there. So maybe like anything just went wrong in your application. So you can just say return. Am I not doing right? Sorry. Return new API error. Okay. You want to create a status code dot internal server error is what we have here. Okay. Internal server error. And I think, okay, can just say something like okay, internal server error basically. So internal server error. Okay. What's the next one? I think is okay, yeah, I think that's that. Okay, can you add comments as a coding and help push? Okay, yeah, don't worry. Yeah, so that's okay. Yeah, I'll be putting some comments as well. Sorry. So you kind of want to export the default class as the export as a default thing and API error, so that you can make use of it in the actual where you're creating your this thing. So your middleware stuff. So let's see from where we have. I think those are the main things you want to care about, at least like internally. Okay. So let's come here to index.js now. So in index.js, what you want to do is to create a middleware function. And then we know that our middleware must have access to the requests and the response and next as well. So in Express, how you check those things is that you can just say, okay, you are creating a function now. Again, it is a function, not a class that we're creating here. So your middleware is a function. So we are correlating the error handler. So let's say we want it to have some things. It should have the requests, like we said. It should have the response, and it should also have the next, like they said. And then let's say this is what we want to have. Okay, so let's say we want to export defaults, the error handler as well. So where do you make use of your middleware? You can make use of your middleware in your app.js as well. So okay, so while it is running this thing, you can just say imports error handler and just say okay, that's taking that. But just like okay, that's it. All right, that's a good example. You could just come here and say app.use, and that's what's error handler as well. All right, so basically here now, so basically this your express.json here now, it is a middleware as well, as you can see. Now returns middleware that only passes JSON and only looks at requests where the content type header, blah 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 blah. But basically what I care about is that it is a middleware. So if you want to make use of your middleware, you use your middleware with the .use method basically. So in this case as well, so we are using our router here by also using the app.use. I hope it is kind of looking very familiar there. So the use here is kind of doing a couple of things there. So the router, we're also using it there as well. Okay. What else do I even want to do? Okay, we've created a logger. Where was I? Okay, yeah, this is where I was. So now let's now put some stuff in the middleware. So in this error, this thing now. So the idea is that if some things break now, there are different kind of errors that we can have in our application now. Like, and very, very importantly, you want those errors. If anything is coming out of your application now, you don't want to okay, you don't really want your application to crash, your backend application to crash just because an error occurred. You definitely don't want to have that. You want to be able to like, oh, see that error happen, log it somewhere, handle it gracefully there. So that's the idea of putting any of this stuff here. So once an error occurs now, At the end of the day, I will also try, if the error needs to be something that is sent back to the user, I will use my error response, which I created somewhere here. Okay, so my error response here to handle it as well. The reason why I'm creating a middleware here is that there could be different things that break my application. Maybe an error actually occurred, like an actual error occurred, not with where like as inside my controller. Maybe different things happen. And you just want to have control, a little bit of control on how it is being handled. So that's why you want to create this your error middleware. I don't know if I'm making so much sense there or I'm saying it very, very well. So, but pretty much you want to say import your API error that you just defined. So that handles it. And I think I also want to okay, oh wow. Sorry. Yeah, good evening.
Good evening, sir. Please,
Yeah, what's up?
can you explain why we are having the error middleware? Because I felt that like during our code, we could just when writing the code, we could just put the try catch or one of the error responses. What exactly is the purpose of having the error middleware, sir? Can you explain that again? Error handler.
All right. So the error handler there is that and some things I'll say some things happened while you are processing a request now. And say, okay, say in the middle of processing this your get job request now, you have an error happen basically here or something like that, or something that you basically did not like account for basically now. You actually want a way to find that error and then put it like kind of handle it gracefully here as well. So that's what that's why you kind of want to do the error handler. Does that help?
Okay, okay. Like for instance, now I understand what you said. In this
Mm-hmm.
get job um variable that we have here, you already have an error handler, right? That's the essence of if not job, return error response,
Yes, basically.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so but we are not like having a whole this thing for error handler again.
So say for example now, say for example, we have let's say we have a functionality, something I wanted to discuss later on here, when we are handling your JSON web tokens now. Say for example that you wanted to verify that a user does not log in, basically like their token actually failed, like basically something like a JSON web token error, which we are going to update our error on later on. Say you want to catch that particular thing now, and you still want to actually like collect the error from where it happened, and also let it the entire thing pass on to your application and write a meaningful response to whoever is going to make use of your API now. So that is for those use cases that I'm thinking about. Okay. So for example, here,
All
when you
right, I
say
understand.
so say for example, if you don't kind of like test through your application well, let me put this for you now. So at the end of the day now, when something is going on here now, for example, you want to get a job now, the consumers of your API, they could do something that say will break, not just in the ways that you is relating to say like you're checking something from your jobs or something. Let's use an example of one more thing I wanted to say, and I think this would have been a better example. I was saying something about validators here. Anytime you want to collect things from a form, now exactly now, like this is kind of like what a form looks like on the back end. You want to ensure that before that thing gets to your database, that thing is verified that yes, this is exactly what I'm looking at. Especially when you're using like a schemaless database like MongoDB. Now, MongoDB has this kind of way it checks, but it's not really very, very, very active. And it's something that it is there basically, but it's not something that you kind of want to just like do. I don't know if I'm making the point. Well, you want to actually like, oh, ensure that thing is correct before you do some processing on it, before it finds its way into the database, before MongoDB kind of interacts with it at all. So when something like that does not happen, when, say, for example, a user does not pass in the proper thing your database, your application is expecting, you are using a validator to actually like come with something like that, like to flag the error now. So once that kind of error wants to get back out, you probably want to reformat what they are saying as the creators of that particular framework, like package that you are using now. You probably want to reformat that particular thing into a form that is much more making sense to your own application. So for me, making use of that, what's it called now? The error handler is for those particular cases that is not really specific to where I am using the error response directly. Okay, so I don't know if that answers your question, but as you see me define the error handler now, like put some things there, you basically kind of like get the point for it.
Yes, I understand, sir.
All right, that's a good question actually. And I think, yeah, I think I used to struggle with that particular, like, what is the point? I mean, error response gets the job well done basically as well. So what you want to do is that okay, so you want to say, okay, import your error response, which is basically how we are outputting things out anyway to the database, and say, okay, you know what? Let's say, okay, yes, we have to create a this thing basically now, like a, what's it called? Something like that, an error, yeah. Don't know. I hope, okay, there's a noise around me, it's distracting me actually. So you want your first parameter here to be like your error, then you have your request, your response, and the next, basically, because it is a middleware now. So what you want to do is that, okay, now let's say, for example, now, if the error now that you have now is an instance of the API error. Now, for example, so basically you basically just want to, I mean, this is a little bit of tautology, but basically let's just get something like that. So let's just say, because your API error now that you've created now, yeah, where is it? Where is it? Okay, yeah. Now, say for example, something, a web page is not found, a bad request, in some cases, or an internal error from something that you basically not already catch in your controller. Say you are having that kind of error coming from somewhere now, when you have it in your try and catch, basically now. Okay, so you've done your job trying to trying whatever has to be done. When an error occurred now, you want a way that, okay, yeah, what type of error is it? Is it already of the type of those things you've already defined already? That is it a not found, basically, a bad request, basically, or an internal error, basically, first of all. If you have yourself, this is the case where, say, you want to have like a function in your application that is going to do something. Basically, this kind of way you are going to use it now. Maybe let's say you say const do something, basically, do something now. Okay, the blah blah blah, you are doing something like that. So let's say, for example, now that thing fails. You now want to basically, oh, okay, you know what, I want to have a way of saying, okay, new API error dot say bad requests or something like that. You want to just have that to just like get it done with. It will still make use of this your error response that you are creating here. So because we are still going to put it down here, because that's how we want your things to look outside of your application. So if your error now is a class of the API error, so as far as it has it is a class of the API error, it will have what's it called, a code and a message when we are instantiating it like that. So you want to say, okay, your error is your error dot message. What's it called? Your message is error dot message, and your code is error dot code, like that. So let's say we have the API error there now. For example, we can just say, okay, you know what? Let's say we are logging our error now. Let me just say, so I'll teach you how to make use of log the error. Just put it there for now. And I want to also say your error response now. Now, the error response of what you have. So your error response requires a response from there. Your status code, which is error dot code. Okay, first of all, hold on. I think I'm not doing something well. So, all right. So this is the thing. So that's your code, basically, your code from the error. Then what else? Your error itself. So error itself should basically just be like the message that you want it to be to output. If you look from your log and from your response now that you defined now, so those are the things that you have. Your response is your this thing, your status code, and the error is actually what happened now. Your this thing there, what you want, the string from what has happened there is what you see there. So I don't know if you're able to patch those things together. This is it here. Okay, so that's what we want to do at the end of the day. Once we have any error that happens in our catch statements, we want to still find a way to what? To error response it. So out. So at the end of the day, what is going on? Your experience knows how to say, oh, once there's a catch statement and there's an error, it is already using this kind of your error handler to handle it, basically. Okay, so whoever asked that question, does that seem clearer now? Let me close some files here.
Yes, sir, it does.
All right, thank you. So where was I? So let's say we just have that basically now. I kind of want to do some things, but I guess that's fine. Let's leave this as well for now. It's not going to work the way I want it here because I still want to put some extra logic, but I just want you guys to just see the entire thing now. But let's start our server. I don't know. npm run stats. Oh, okay. I think I used dev. I don't know what I used anymore. Or if it fails, it fails. Okay, yeah, it was dev. What is going on here? Cannot find the module API error from. Where is that? Okay, yeah. So it's supposed to take .js. It's not taking the extension there. So .js as well. I don't understand why I like working my stuff from this thing. All right, yeah. So we are up and running. So let's say we create a job now. Let's say we create another job here. Things should still work the way they're expected to work. Yeah, so that's one other thing from here. So let me see. Did we really put okay, let me see first of all. Get a job. Let me see. It found a job. So let me change the ID to maybe like let's say 5, for example. Yeah, our error response should successfully catch that the job just does not exist. Oh, okay. We said it should expect. Okay, so I was expecting it to basically, something is going on here. Also, I think I just caught something going wrong here now. So one of the things I also say to even reiterate on that, you see this error here that is going on here now. It's basically is happening here because I have still not gracefully handled that kind of error here as well. So at the end of the day, my error response that I so much believe in is not even catching when something like this happened. And this is happening because where you have your .id for your model now. It is specifically this ID we are taking here now, this 5 now, that is here. Let me show you, let me trick you, help you with it. So at this place where we say get a job, it's taking a parameter here, which is what 5 in it. This is part of the request endpoint. And whenever you put a parameter, this is it for the, so we is, okay, I don't know why you say the yeah. So now, so where we say the 5 now, let me get to where the job stuff is. So the jobs that we have is coming over here now as your rec.parameters.id. This is where it is going on. That 5 I put there is coming here as a variable job ID. So jobs model is trying to find that ID, and that ID is 5. And that 5 is not really something that your MongoDB is expecting. It couldn't cast that 5 into the object type that is stored as underscore ID. And you know, your underscore ID is the internal way that your MongoDB is putting your your entries, your documents in the database now. So each entry in the database is having expecting that. So because it couldn't cast that, and we didn't really put that down, we didn't handle it gracefully. Not only did our, I think, yeah, if I put this well, we did not return a response to the what's it called, to the backend. We didn't respond send a response. As you can see, it just kept on loading indefinitely like that. So what we want to do is that at the end of the day, let me still just hold on to that, since that's not what I, all right. So since that's not what I want to do now, I may just keep a mental note to it and say, okay, this particular type of error is going on here. So when I want to put it here now, I'll just go back to my API error, my error middleware now. I'll say something like, if the error is type of cast error, basically. Now there's an instance of cast error. Okay. Collect everything from there. Go to the what's it called? I may even define my own message per se for it, and then specifically now put it as a response to that endpoint. Basically, yeah, that's, oh, this error now is going to take the response, the code, and the message. So if, say, a user now or the front end person wants to make use of our application, and they kind of see that particular message, this particular way we are doing it, like a generic way of just telling them that, oh, you are doing something that doesn't make sense. And so because this thing is coming from a third party, one of those underlying things that we are making use of for our application, and we don't want you to see that kind of error. It is ugly. This is ugly basically now. So you just kind of want to like, oh, you know what? This is how we are formatting it. And I feel like I've been saying that thing over and over again for years. So that's the entire job of this your error and like, yes, so yeah, it makes sense for you to have it there. So we will still come back to populate it, but this is kind of that's kind of the scenario I need it for. So I hope everyone is clear on that. I think I'm spending more time than I hope to take. Yeah, all right, so let me just leave that down. We will still update it as well. Let's just leave it as that. So I just needed to show you guys something. So yeah, hold on. Can you guys hear something around me? It's really distracted. There's a noise around me, but I just want to confirm if you guys are it's getting to you guys. Can somebody just confirm for me? All right, that's good. Yeah, I guess the noise cancellation is working really well. That's good. So yeah, so one of the things I really covered today is trying and catching your error, logging them. I think we need to see our logger in action, so you really appreciate what it does, and then handling our errors. So handling our errors, let me just call it a little bit of part one. We'll really update that one from tomorrow, but let's take some things here in the error handling part, in the logging parts. So this is what I used to do, and I have seen a lot of different people do. So each time when an endpoint is called, I used to say something like this. Let me first of all import my logger. Where's the one I just created? Import logger from, oh god, don't make me do this myself. Okay, I think I created it in utils, and there's a file logger.js. So I hope that is properly imported. All right, so I think the moment I instantiated it now by calling it, by importing that file folder for the first time, it's basically just created my files for me, combine.log and error.log. You want to ensure that you're not pushing your logs as part of your application as well. So before I do a git.push, I will add it to my .git ignore. Okay, let me see if I can open this thing here. Just because of the way we are creating this particular repository, I am nesting a lot of projects in the same place. So the roots of my actual application, of my folder, which is this repo name now, and which contains all of these things we've been doing now, is where my .git ignore it lies. But usually, if you are doing it the normal way, you will find it among your stuff that is here. So don't worry, I think I may need to, for the final capstone project, I will teach you guys how to properly put your stuff. So let me just come here to the .git ignore file so that I will tell it that when it sees a folder called log, it should ignore it as well. So, yep, as you can see, instruction obeyed. So, all right, so let's go on now. So the first thing you want to do is that, okay, you want to say, oh, this is what I do though, and it's not really a must. I used to say logger.info. So make this info is the level of that particular log. So logger.info, and I think that's what that person was trying to do. So logger.info, and I used to say, okay, start, create job service. Okay, so basically once we do that now, we are trying to create a job now, and I used to always, like, before the listen, I always just say logger.info again just before the request is sent. Now I used to do end create job service. So when you try, I was saying this thing to that person that day, I think it was a DM too, or it was on the group chat. When you try to do any thing after your response has been sent, or you're trying to send another response to this thing, you are going to get an error. And I think I want you guys to maybe let's just see how this thing is going to done. So I've kind of like made it an habit that moment I'm starting my functionality, I create this kind of logger here. And whenever before I'm sending a response here, I send this thing that, oh, end it as well. So if there's any place where I'm returning my error response here as well, I also just tell my logger that, oh, I just log it that, oh, since this thing is here, I can just say longer.info and just tell it that, okay, same thing as well, and create job service. So basically, by just scrolling through the logs now, I can already tell that someone tried, like, this particular functionality is used just by looking at the logger.info and the error wherever it is and this thing now. I kind of have idea whether it is that particular functionality on the endpoint is used. It's useful like that. So when I go back here and try to create a new job as well, so we'll have multiple software engineer too here, and you just say it like that here. Okay. So if you check the response, this thing, you can see it here, create job service and end create job service. It is putting it in green here. There was something I didn't put well. I think mine, when I used to do it, I think it's color blue that I used to always use. But I think maybe like green is the default. I don't know. I don't think we don't really put a particular color there. We only said I should colorize everything it is outputting. So that is this logger we created in action. It's captioned today's date, the level, and whatever I ask you to output there. So it is currently 6:21 here. The info is what I said, and it should output it. So let me see if it is what if there's an error occurs basically now. So const catch error, and I don't say console.log. I think I mentioned it there. So I always just say logger.error. What is the error? Just output the error basically. Maybe I just put the error there in the logger. And let me just console this thing out. So maybe let me let me try putting your, what's it called? Let me remove this entire thing here just to wind it in so that we get an error from that create job endpoints. Our server has restarted. So there should be an error that will come back now. So, and what this says missing parameters for job creation. So the reason why it came back here is that I already created this thing. If the company or position is not there, just basically put this down using our error response. That I knew to catch it like that. Okay, that's something I could prepare ahead for. All right. So what is this thing? Something is wrong. Okay. So okay, that's true actually. Now in the try and error this thing now as well, I was expecting it to use the logger.error as well here. Okay, but it didn't use it actually. It used the logger.info here. That is here. It basically wrote this logger.info, try to collect the body, but they were not there. So logger.info and end it as well here, and return this error response here. So what can I do to get this error response to not work? Okay, maybe let's try it with another. Where was that endpoint? All right, this get job endpoint there. Let's try it again. Let me see. And put this down. Okay, get a single job, the 5 as well. So let's put some stuff there. And I'm also going to teach you just one tiny thing now. Logger.info stats get job service. Okay, just after it say logger.info and get job service. I might just copy and paste and do whatever there. But okay, let me just put it here as well. Okay. One more thing, yeah. So logger.error here when we have an error. So because we know an error actually will definitely come here. Something I am not checking by myself. And basically, yeah, something I'm not checking by myself. That 5 thing that happened there. So let's try doing it again here. Something will happen indefinitely here. Okay? Because we are not handling it gracefully yet. And let's see if our this thing, yeah, you can see our logger is working here. So I don't know. I'll check the format again. Maybe there's something. This is not the way I like it to look like, both this thing and this wall. Yeah, green is ugly, so I'll do it well. So do you really want your errors loading up indefinitely? I don't think you want your errors to be loading indefinitely. So basically, if we have an error, even if we are trying to log it, saying undefined. All right, I'll come back to that basically. Even if we are trying to log it, or you are trying to use your error middleware function now, which is not even being used yet. How do we let it use that middleware itself? What you want to do is that you want to tell, as it is catching the error, after you are logging it, you want to next the error. So you want to say next, which is coming from Express itself, and you want to next the error. So basically go do the next thing there. And that next, you let it be a part of your application. So basically, I think that's that. I think that's, yeah, you let it be part of that. So let's say once it restarts and next. So that's the next function. And as you can see here now, everything is handled gracefully. The error is being logged. So moment I call the next now, oh, it knew that, oh yeah, let me Express need to just, oh, that is an error. You use next for error. Okay. So, or to move on to the next thing. In this case, it kind of recognizes that it is an error and then came here to check my error handler middleware function that I've already defined. So when it went into the error handler, it came here. I think this is where I defined it, and it checked for the different kinds of error that is there. There is no any error called a cast error. So it's kind of just default to doing what it thinks is right. You can. So in this case, it is sending an HTML as a response. So and that's what we need to be able to catch, because we basically said if it is an API error, then try and do this. We never gave it a generic one that, oh, even if it is of any kind. So let's try and put it there now. I actually want to put this as a last one. Maybe let's just put an else basically. Still say the message as your error.message. Hopefully that works. And the code as your error.code from wherever it is. Still just grab those two things basically. Now, I let me just check if it will even work as well. So yeah, if it will work, because I don't know if those people are sending things that fits into this error.message error.code format. I can't be so sure for sure, but let me just see if it works. Let me send it again. If we will not even get the same thing. Okay, so it didn't work basically because it did not try and do this thing. Let me see. Let me get back on that as well. Let me just get back on that. It will be part of what we'll talk about tomorrow. So let's just leave it like that. So I want to experiment things myself. Let me just focus on things I know works really well before I waste our time. One more thing. Okay, so that's the next stuff in action. One more thing I want to really check again. Let me remove it from this thing, from the application. Let me just put it rec and rest. Let me see, because it's just a function that is part of Express. Let me see if it will still work, basically. Yeah, you could see that our application crashed there. And why is it so? Next is not defined. So I always put it there. I wasn't so sure. I mean, I'm kind of used to always putting it. I wasn't sure, or I probably knew, I've forgotten that it is really required. So next is kind of there. So you can call your next by anything per se, or maybe you can, let's just wind it in and just say air and just call it like air of the thing, basically. Because those things are there that like in a way it's kind of Express is not, it kind of expect those things as parameters of the function, and it's kind of like binding those things to you know how pointers work in maybe like a this thing now. So it's basically kind of like, oh, this request now that you are calling it rec, it is kind of like taking it to what it has defined as a request. So that's why if you see my actual code from TypeScript now, I always kind of like ensure this. I always say this rec is a request object. It's a request object. Is a request of, I don't know, that thing we just show. Oh yeah, to take it as a request. But you know, annotation is not used in your JavaScript. So that's, and just this will just be like a part of, yeah, next function. Yeah. So it was doing that. It's, let me just remove this nonsense because I don't need, that is not, that does not look, that's not a good idea of something to do. So this function, next function response, and this thing is more or less specifically telling it that, oh yeah, this is the type of this object. And that's what you do when you're working with TypeScript. We're not using TypeScript here. We're just writing things in plain old JavaScript like that. So we're not putting those things there. So this is more or less me trying to jump ahead and say, I love writing the backend code in Java, in TypeScript, but if we are not so good with JavaScript in the first place, why should I teach it in TypeScript? You have to learn TypeScript, those things that were not in JavaScript, and put it there. But I mean, you'll probably get what I'm doing, but I don't want us to be bothered with that mental luggage. But let me recap back to what I was trying to say. I'm saying it that this last parameter here, it binds to that next function that Express is expecting. So you can name it whatever you want, and I think it should work. It should work like that. It should do the same thing that you are expecting. Yeah, it should. Just like you specifically don't need to name your request a reg, or you don't need to call your rest a rest like that. But do things in ways that, yeah, please, we are not insane here. Let's just do things in ways things are have been left for us. Let's worry about how other people are also expecting them as well. So after you catch and log your error, you want to next it as well. So that is how you're telling it that, oh yeah, go use the error handler and see if that's a case that has been done and then has been discussed, and then yeah, and handle it gracefully. So next, next the error. So even if you don't use the next now, I don't think it shouldn't give you an error. So a good idea is that when you're creating your express function, put the rec, rest, and next, and do your thing. Just put it there. So when you need it or not, that's your own cup of tea or something. So next the error, and next as well. So far so good. Everything is looking good, Rabbi. So next the error as well. Error. Okay. So what else? What else? Okay. Oh, these are the things. In fact, I didn't know. I didn't know. I knew I left all of this as a comment here. So yeah, as a recap of the things I've said so far, we talked about Winston for login. Um, we talked about the try and catch block, and we talked about the API error. So for today, we can call it the error class because that's what our class has mostly been. It's very, very important that you deal with errors. You don't want errors that will crash your application, like this one just did here. Okay. So yeah, so we don't want to that's basically I mean, it's crashed the application. You know your application crashes when you try to send another response from your. Okay, someone is saying it has been a lot, so I don't know if we should stop. Should we stop? So you guys can talk. Please talk. So I don't know. When you send messages, I get distracted with them by the messages than with your talk as well. So yeah, should we stop here if it has been a lot?
Yeah, I don't know about me. Yeah, I feel like we stop here because I'm
Okay.
still far behind. I still have to like go and catch up on. I've been I'm a bit lost. So I have to like try to trace my steps and watch
All
the
right, that's
recording.
fine. All right, that's fine. Michael, Yinka, Basit, everybody should talk. Basically, he has given his own perspective, so everybody should talk as well.
Yeah, the class has actually been a lot. You have explained a lot of things that we have to like catch up on. I don't know
Mm.
how, I don't know where everybody's at with their own stuff personally, but me too. Just like Basit said, Abi, I'm behind too,
Clinton.
so
Yeah,
I
all
still
right.
have to catch up.
Okay.
Yeah, just as I said.
All right. Jude, O'Day.
Samuel, I mean, handling the whole error stuff and everything, I think there's a lot to get into the head. It's my head now at
Okay.
the moment, but need
All
some
right.
time.
All right. I think three people have already talked. So okay, we still have three people left. Basit, Yinka, and Ayobami. Let's hear from you.
I think yeah, we can stop actually. We've
All
tried,
right.
done quite a
All right,
lot.
that's it. All right, that's a majority, but let's hear from everybody. Basit, what about you?
Yeah, you can actually stop unless what's left is not enough.
All right. So let's hear from you as well. Is it Ayobami too, Washe?
Yeah, to be a good idea actually, because I think most of us are still new to the whole like this Winston library just introduced. So to give us some time to go through the documentation and the code you put on GitHub.
Yeah, all right, that's fine. So yeah, we can stop as well. So last week now, so that you also kind of work with me. When we had that class last week, I think it was on Friday, I scrapped Thursday class in total because I wasn't mentally for it. So the one we did on Friday, which is part of what this code was. I intentionally did not put a lot of things there. I just wanted you to see those functionalities working, right? So I wanted to see those functionalities working. So for those that are lagging behind, a good way to quickly catch up to today's class is to get back on what the code is on Friday. So the current code on our repository, let me see where it is again. MLSA. Don't really want to. Yeah, I think that is it now. So the current code that is showing up on this part of it, the jobs API, is what it was as of last week. I will, before I push the current code, maybe you want to clone it, or basically I think you can always come back to the history of the commits as well and see what has changed. But I don't know. I always don't really like to read through everything here like that. So maybe you want to clone it to your file so that you have something that works. Or maybe I create a new branch. Let me do that. Okay, so I'm always forgetting this stuff. Let me create a new branch. How about that? This branch. Um, I'm not getting any response.
Yeah, that's fine.
Um,
Yeah, that's
yeah,
okay.
let me create a new branch so that what's today? Today is Thursday week 4. Okay. So that's a new branch. Git okay, what's the listing again? Git checkout Thursday week 4. Okay, so that's where we are now. So when I push it, it will be there. All right, so I can add everything we just did. Okay, so git commits minus m added. So what are the things we did? error handlers, API error, try catch, and what else again? Okay, login. So those are the things we actually discussed. So you want to see that. So let's push them here. Oh, git push set upstream. Should I just all right? So all these things I'm doing, you basically know that you can do it with VS Code as well. You can create your branch, push everything, and do it from here, even in the terminal or in this source control thing there. As you can see from here, it has reflected that this is the branch I'm on. So because I've checked out to it. So you kind of want to do that. This is not using this terminal is not would I would say recommended. Yeah, it's not compulsory, it's not recommended, it's not whatever. It's just at this point, I'm so used to doing it. It took me a long time to see that I could do it on VS Code. And you can't teach an old dog new tricks. So I'm kind of living fine by it. So you probably don't want to be like me on that aspect. Maybe one day I will check. But to make things easy, before we let you go, let's spend a recap. I think a recap is good. Okay. So this screenshots here, where is it here? Or where's our all right. So this we kind of handle everything very well now. So let me make a recap. So the first thing we talked about is that we talked about the try catch block. Things will go wrong when you are building your application. When people are doing things on it, things will go wrong. Forget about it. Things will go wrong. There's no 100% running software anywhere in the world. Things will go wrong, but you must always ensure when things go wrong, it is accounted for, it is checked out gracefully, it doesn't crash your application, and people kind of can read things in a way that is understandable. So the first thing is that you want to kind of like catch this thing. That's what you want. Oh, make provision for it. When things go wrong, put it in a try catch block. Try to handle it. When something goes wrong, anything goes wrong at all, catch it. So that's why our functionalities have been updated to take the try catch. When you check the two different branches, the latest commit to them, you see that that is the only thing that changed from that in that respect. Then the next thing we talked about was we handled logging as well. You want your repository, you want your logs, everything that is going on with your application to be kept in a place that you can always check back. And it's very, very, very important as well. So you can also, when
Or is it only me? I can't hear anything.
yeah. Sorry. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you
Yes,
now.
yes.
All right, yeah. So my phone went on battery saving mode and it's cut off the hotspot. So I'm always monitoring the call from my phone as well, just so I know things are proper. So yeah, when I said I've talked about the try catch as well. Okay. So login, basically you want to check Winston for that. There are different ones as well, but I mean I've been using Winston and I don't have complaint. Okay, so you may want to check that and read their documentation. Basically, I don't think, for me to be honest, since I got to use Winston the first time, I've been using it the way I've been using it, and I've not really had to configure much. So just just check what I did, and then check what's more to do with it, and then boom, I think you would be good to go on that. Okay, so don't worry too much about Winston. Then the next thing, most importantly, your errors. In fact, very, very, very important. That's what defines you as a backend engineer. So, like I said, I want to have my two ways for my errors. The one that's, first of all, a consistent way of putting error out is what I define as the success response and the error response. Anything that is going out of my API is consistently put. Should give me the response give the code, and send a message. If it is a success, put a data if I want, and if I don't want, I put null there. Okay, consistency is good. Then the next thing you want to also do is that whenever there is an error that you are not that basically is not catched in where it's not caught when you're doing your try parts, when that error is being caught here, you want to log it and you want to pass it on to the middleware you wrote, the error handler middleware. So your error handler middleware wants to kind of take the entire thing and put it in a good format that, oh, when Mongoose is saying that blah, 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 blah cannot cast error, I don't want whoever is consuming my API to kind of know that kind of thing. That one is not their business. I may just tell them that the ID for jobs you have put is not correct. It's much easier. They can understand that thing. The front end person can understand that thing better than what MongoDB is giving out of the box. Okay, so that's what you may think of a good use case for your error handler as well. So also your API error now seems like a tautology of what these things here now, your bad request and whatever. It could seem as a tautology to what we are doing in Kilotin in our error responses that we've been doing before. I mean, if something is not found in the job, it will do unprocessable the entity. That's kind of some of the things that this not found. We've talked about it before anyway. But I want you to think of it that you could also use your API error elsewhere as well. So maybe that's that. Okay. That's one thing about error handlers. So those three things are basically the things we talked about today. Okay, you mostly find few file changes and much of this thing like that. So there about that. But there's also one thing I want you guys to see before and after our error handler. And that's the last thing we are doing for this class. So let's say, for example, I I comment it out. So our error handler is not working. Let's imagine we go to a page that doesn't exist, like say Mama. Oh, I don't know why that came up to my head, but is our server running? Not yet. So npm run dev runs the server. Okay. So by the time I send Mama, you can see error. It's getting back an HTML this thing here. Okay, an HTML page. And remember, we are not building a front end page or whatever like this. It's not even being logged or whatever. But what if I now uncomment the error handler now, and I now send that same link? Let's see. Okay, wow, the same thing happened. Okay, I was expecting it to give me a JSON of saying this thing, of the not found. Okay. Don't worry, I'll check whatever that is later on, but this thing. Okay. Okay. I think I finally remember where that's supposed to be. But let me start the class tomorrow on that. But also maybe like as an assignment to you guys, what was I supposed to do so that I'll get a JSON an error response that says what's it called? The way this response is like status error or something like that for a 404. What am I supposed to do? Basically, dear, is what I want you guys to think about. If you can't have it, we'll talk about it tomorrow. But as an assignment, I want you guys to read up on JWT. Okay, your JSON web tokens. Very important that you at least have an idea of a theoretical idea of it before tomorrow. So those that are behind, I don't know what I will do to you. So what I can use to help you. This is what is very important for authentication. Anyway, so check it out, please, and read up on it. Okay, so use it, think about it very well. Okay, so JSON Web, I'll say what I can send to you guys as well. So yeah, that will be that about that. Okay, so I hope we are all kind of clear. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. So I would pretty much like to shift the class entirely from Tuesday. I want to be able to relax at the early of the week because of my schedule now. So maybe like by Thursday, Friday, making sense. At least if I'm so stressed on Thursday, Friday, I can say, oh yeah, thank God it's Friday. I can just chill with that as well, just manage. So Thursday and
I
Friday,
guess
please.
yeah, I
Okay.
need to just mention that Fridays do not work for me. I usually have a lot of like meetings to join on Fridays, so Friday will not
Yeah.
work for me.
Okay. Let's discuss more on that in the group chat. Okay. So,
Yeah.
so weekend is usually even something else as well for me. So let's just talk
Oh
about
wow.
it in the group chat. Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry. Yeah, let's talk about it in the group chat. So yeah, it has been a lot today. It didn't look like we coded a lot, but we did some things that are a lot as well. So please check it them very, very well. And that will be that for this call. Thank you for listening and being a part of this platform. Go ahead and try out the code. Ensure you do so. And yeah, watch other tutorials as well. And surprise me with more interesting things. With that being said, good night.
All right. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Good night.
Mhm.